Greetings and salutations once again, and we are thrilled to announce two things here on this episode of Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named and charitably award-winning Query and Schultz show, and two things that are just fabulous. I know that coming off of a Colts loss, people, Derek, are not as excited, but I am thrilled about two things of this show.
Well, I'm thrilled all the time about this show, The Rocket Ship.
I'm thrilled, number one, that this is episode number 63, which means Jeff Saturday, who is a spokesperson, of course, spokesman for Bailey and Wood Financial Group.
Sure,
right?
yeah, he's in the commercials that you're going to see later on today.
So Jeff Saturday, episode 63. Secondly, we are not stooping to the level of immaturity of dressing ourselves like any sort of food. No hot dog dressing, no hamburger, nothing. Derek is just wearing his Granimals undershirt, and we are good to go.
I have gotten, we've done this show for over 10 years now, and I've gotten a lot of praise. People have given me flowers, as they say. I don't know if I've ever gotten...
Wait. Who's the most famous person to give you flowers?
I'm not going to divulge that. Just know that multiple famous people have complimented me. Some of it show-related, some of it looks-related. But... the hot dog suit just flooded Derek at QueryandSchultz.com and my Twitter DMs. I laughed. I cried. It was great. Clearly, Joey responded to it. He wasn't really vibing with
Joey
Jake.
the dog?
No, Joey Chestnut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they talked about, that's what I think of when I think of Joey Chestnut's brand. I think of hot dogs, and you wearing the hot dog suit. I was looking forward to it all week, and you delivered. So thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. I love you.
Okay.
I'm just cherry-picking comments from that I received.
Well, yesterday, Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers, cherry-picked plenty of the Colts. I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny about the play calling and did the Colts abandon the run and Jonathan Taylor. Derek, bottom line, you can't turn the – as Jim Mora once said, I don't care who you play. You turn the ball over 5 times. You ain't going to beat anybody I just mentioned, anybody.
20-year anniversary.
That's right.
By the way. 5. I mean, really 4. The fifth was the desperation play at the end. So I'll give them a little bit of a break for the fifth one. But 4, and Jake, they were all critical. Like
bad times, right?
Yeah, Zach Pascal, who had a terrible game fumbling. Nyheim Hines not being able to field a punt inside his own red zone. The strip sack changed the entire dynamic of the game. The Colts are driving to go up 17 to start the second half, and that changed everything. Because really the Buccaneers just kicked it into gear after that. So, and we'll talk about some of these other things, Jake, but to me, I think it's crazy to suggest that anything yesterday was more about turnovers than anything else. That was the story.
There were a couple of storylines about this game, and we'll talk plenty about the Colts and the Tampa Bay Bucs over the course of the next hour or so, among other things. But, Derek, it felt like that game was kind of a microcosm of the Colts right now, how we know them. And by that I mean you had Carson Wentz at times looked like, okay, this is the guy you're going to ride. And he was sharp. When he's clicking, I mean, he's very, very good. Mm-hmm. But you never know when the turnover's coming. I realize the turnovers weren't necessarily him, but, the one interception, I think, was it was a great play, but it was also underthrown a little bit.
Pittman's got to fight. I thought Pittman got interfered with, but he's got to fight for the ball better than that, too.
But then also, same old song and dance for Tampa. I mean, you knew going into it, Rob Gronkowski was going to beat you. If you let him, was going to beat you.
Yep.
And they let him do it. And, it came down to Tom Brady doing what we have known Tom Brady to do, which was to be poised on a final drive. You knew when they got the ball back what the odds were probably going to be, right?
I mean, Brady was fine. If you're asking me what surprised me about yesterday, I was surprised that they got run over by Fournette. He went for 100. They ran at 5.2 yards per clip, I think. That doesn't really happen with this defense. Teams don't run on the Colts a lot. And they ran pretty comfortably on the Colts.
I never felt like the Colts defense was completely on their heels. They were put in some bad spots, but I never really felt like they were getting away from them.
I think they got on their heels a little bit there with the Gronk stuff in the second half where they just couldn't cover him. I mean, he was just every third down play, it felt like it was going to Gronk, and everyone in the building knew it was going to Gronk, and he still couldn't stop it. But, Jake, this is a defense that is a decent defense, a good defense, but it's a defense that relies on turning the opponent over. And they did that twice, but when you're -3 in giveaway takeaway, that's uncharted territory for the Colts this year. They were plus 15 going into this game.
You know, I have, Derek, as you mentioned, we've worked together for 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. So you know some of my weird idiosyncrasies that
Yeah, best friends for 8.
It was the first 8, unfortunately.
Well.
But two things that I've always said from a coaching standpoint, I've never understood why teams don't practice and get in rhythm. One is in basketball, 4 seconds to go, you've got the ball, you're up 1.
Chuck it up in the air.
Throw the ball as high in the air as you can, run the clock out.
It's actually a good point.
The other one, I was surprised on Leonard Fournette's final touchdown. And I realized that it wasn't like it was a breakaway and he was wide open. But I was surprised that I fully expected him, once he got down towards the goal line, to hook a right and just start running.
Yeah.
And run clock out.
Yeah.
Or take a knee at the 1 and then set up for the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah, because they almost ran the ensuing kickoff back.
I know.
Almost.
I know.
And even then you had 2 shots at the end zone right after it. So, I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right? You could block a field goal and, by scoring.
I mean, it's hard to pass on the guaranteed points.
You're not going to lose the game, I
Right.
guess, at that point is probably what you're thinking. But I remember we had Matthias Kiwanuka on the show, the former Cathedral BC star, played for the Giants and won a Super Bowl here. And we asked him about the Ahmad Bradshaw play, which is the most awkward Super Bowl winning touchdown in history, because Bradshaw realizes as he's running full speed to the 1, oh, crap, I got to go down. And so he kind of, backed in and sat in the end zone.
Right.
He couldn't stop himself. And he told us that, look, when you're told your entire life, go score, it's a really hard mentality to break, especially as a running back, right? And I think that's probably what you were thinking. But it's actually a really good thing and a bad thing for the Colts. A really good thing for the Bucs that Fournette didn't do that with 45 seconds left or 50 seconds left.
Right.
Because then we're talking about the Colts having basically a full series of downs plus a timeout to tie that game up.
Look, the big storyline, Derek, for a lot of people, I thought it was made to be a bigger storyline than it is, quite frankly. I didn't feel like the Colts abandoned Jonathan Taylor. I think what happened is the Colts tried to establish Jonathan Taylor early, saw that Tampa had the defense to take that away, then went to the passing game to open things up for Jonathan Taylor, but the passing game was working, so they stuck with it. Then once they had to, they went back to Jonathan Taylor. Maybe they went back too late. I don't know. It was peculiar to me that they had one drive where he was not on the field until the last play of the drive, but they were able to move the ball without him.
Yeah.
I do think that if you are not going to run Jonathan Taylor, that's fine, but he should be on the field as a decoy at the very least. But did you think that was questionable play calling by Frank Reich, or did you think that was an example of Frank Reich using what the defense was allowing him to use?
I'll say this. I don't think you should ever go 26 plays without Jonathan Taylor getting a carry, regardless of who you're playing. That said, don't good coaches and good quarterbacks take what the defense gives you, right? And if the defense is giving you pass, it's not like the Colts weren't moving the ball, passing. If that's what they're giving you, and how many RPOs, we don't know, but how many RPOs were called that Wentz checked out of? Do we not trust Carson Wentz to make that read?
I think when it comes to trust, Derek, I think the bigger thing is this. I've talked about this all day. There are 2 approaches offensively or defensively, but 2 approaches to a football game. One is that you master what you do so well. Tom Brady going to Rob Gronkowski. Tom Brady is basically saying, this is what I'm doing. Everyone in the building knows this is what I'm doing. You got to try to stop it. It's your job to stop it, right? Mm-hmm. I think so. There are 2 ways that teams approach things. One is, this is what we're going to do, and it's your job to try to stop it. The other is, we're going to feel you out and see what you give us, and then we're going to make adjustments throughout. The first one is the more rare approach, because very few people have the personnel or the trust in their personnel to consistently say, this is what we're doing, period. I think what we saw is that Frank Reich still doesn't have complete trust in his personnel to say this is what we're doing. And maybe the time is there where he needs to have that trust now.
But I still, your second approach I think is the right one. Peyton Manning made a whole career of that. Like when you talk about Peyton Manning's identity, it was taking whatever was the weakness of the opponent and exploiting it. the Colts would week to week, like, yes, of course, he'd throw for 300 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like, the Colts had an identity. I'm not saying that they didn't. It was a pass-happy offense. It wasn't a run offense. But week to week, Peyton Manning analyzed each opponent and even in-game decided, okay, you're going to take this away, I'm going to take this. Okay, you're adjusting to take this away, I'm going to go back to this. And I think maybe the Colts stayed away from Taylor a little bit too long. Like I said, 26 plays is a long time for the best player on the field to not get a carry, but they have to trust other aspects of their offense. It's funny to me, Jake, that the same people that complain a lot about Reich's play calling are the same ones that are super defensive about Wentz. Well, Wentz is the guy. Okay, well, shouldn't you trust him then to make plays for you? Like, football is a 60-minute game. It's not just about handing off to Jonathan Taylor 500 straight times. You've got to do other things. You can't just donate downs out there. And in the first quarter, I thought they were really kind of donating downs to set that run.
Do you think it's weird that when I spray tan?
Yeah, it's bad.
My hands are the last ones to
It looks
go.
like the glaze of my mom's Thanksgiving turkey.
It's kind of weird.
That's what your hands
You
look
should have
like.
seen what my hands look like on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they got double the saturation, so they were like bright orange.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you're carving the turkey, you can't even tell what's like the turkey leg and what's your hand because they're both just bright orange.
You think I carve a turkey?
Yeah, that's true. Mom,
Let's
meatloaf. Right? I mean, that's
right.
what I picture basically.
I don't know
your
what
life.
she's doing back there. I don't know what she's doing. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did, yeah. We went over to my mom's.
Your dad lives there too.
And my dad.
Yeah.
We watched the entire Macy's Thanksgiving parade.
Oh, that had to be fun. Was that neat?
They lip sync all the words. It's a bunch of people I've never heard of, and then Santa comes at the end and kind of saves it. It's just there are very few things that immediately transport me to home, and I'm sure you felt this way, like when you were in St. Louis or when you were in Kansas for like 5 minutes before you got homesick. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, because it's so New York, right? Like it always kind of reminds me of being back in Connecticut and having Thanksgiving there instead of my parents' new home in Carmel. But yeah, it was a good day.
You know what I thought of? This is a total buzzkill. Are you ready for the buzzkill of the day?
How can you buzzkill Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving's awesome.
Well, I'm going to buzzkill.
Well, the Colts were kind of a buzzkill.
I'm going to buzzkill Christmas.
Ooh.
Do you realize that this year Christmas falls on a Saturday?
I did not know that.
That's the worst possible day for Christmas, is it not?
Yeah.
What's the best scenario?
Well, what about Sunday? Because then Christmas Eve even falls. Because Christmas Eve is technically a holiday. No one works Christmas Eve.
So second worst.
So next year will be the worst Christmas because Christmas will be a Sunday next year, right?
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Wednesday Christmas is the best
because everyone's okay.
People just punt that entire week.
Yeah, because Tuesday's out the window.
Yeah,
so most people are like,
Monday. Why am I going to come in for one day and then
go in and go through the motions, and then Thursday, Friday, don't people just punt that too?
I mean, there was a time in my life. There was 1 year, and Rakestraw will remember this when I was at 950, where I worked the 23rd and then came back and worked the 26th. Like it was like 60-hour weeks, and
I got to do that this year
and all of that. You're not taking some time for the show?
We get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then, well, I guess the 26th is Sunday. So
I guess you can't run a best of. You've had this show for 10 minutes.
Well,
so
Derek, you and I did a show for 10 years, and even then it was just a better of.
We really struggled. I remember in 2018 doing a best of Query and Schultz, and we used 3 segments from 2012 because we were like, "There's just nothing from this year. I gotta go back. Gotta play the hit records."
We ran the audio of me sitting next to the Colt member on a flight that I recorded the conversation.
That's right.
He was trying to recruit me.
Yeah, the best of Query and Schultz was in 2018 was, should the Colts cut Peyton Manning or should they draft Andrew Luck? That's what we played, actually. For
you got to do what you got to do.
An hour of that.
We have plenty to get to today, including, Derek, Buy It or Ball Schultz from our friends at The Shop Indy, right?
Yes.
We have, obviously, our American Dairy Association Winners Drink Milk Winner of the Week, right?
Yep.
We have our Indiana Members Credit Union Player of the Game. Is
We're
that
going
right?
to do that next.
Okay. Love Heating and Air, our Love That Play from the good guys at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. And then, by the way, did you get, and I know that, I'll bet people love their Smoke and Barrel Barbecue for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Forget my mom would cry if we weren't able to do turkey, but if it was up to me, we would have just gotten a barbecue spread from Smoke and Barrel.
Of course.
Yeah.
You could still do that
Great.
for the holidays. Right?
WGU Indiana Sage Move of the Week.
That's
too.
right.
This is what we're
WGU
gonna
Indiana,
get to.
the largest online accredited university. But when we return, it is, in fact, our, what'd you say, Derek, Player of the Week we're going to do?
I'm CU Player of the Week. More Colts, Bucket, LeBron getting fans ejected. We're going to talk about all that stuff.
And I guess by the time this airs, we'll know the answer. Is there a new number one team in all the land in college basketball?
Oh, I just saw it.
Oh, there is a new number one.
There is a new number one. It's not the one that you wanted it to be.
So Duke vaulted him. Well, we'll get to that next. It's Query and Schultz.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Okay, Derek, you briefly touched on it before we went to the break, but in college basketball, before we get back into the Colts and the awards that we have to give away, obviously Gonzaga was ranked number 1. Purdue was, I think, 3rd. UCLA was number 2. UCLA loses to Gonzaga, right, handily.
Yeah.
Duke then beats the Zags. A lot of speculation that perhaps for the first time in the history of the program, Purdue would be atop the Associated Press college basketball poll, but
stayed at 3. Duke 1, Zags 2. And whatever. I just think it's incredible to me, Jake, considering all of their success, and they've had some really great teams too, and a lot of good ones. There have been 53 programs that have been number 1 at some point.
Are you looking behind
No, I don't want to look behind me. I see what's on the screen. There are 53 programs that have been number 1, and Purdue never has.
Who's the most random you think it's been number 1?
Oh, the St. Joe's, Jameer Nelson,
I was just
Delonte
gonna
West
say St.
squad.
Joe's.
Yeah, in my lifetime, at least. But that was a great team. That they lost, I want to say, to Oklahoma State. And remember the Grahams who played for the Pacers, like Joey and Stephen Graham?
Yeah.
John Lucas's kid was on that team.
Oklahoma State spent some time at number 1.
Oh, yeah. Oklahoma State's won 2 national championships.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like of the modern era. That's right. I mean, hell, in my lifetime, I could be wrong in this.
a 21-year-old would say, DePaul, really?
Yeah, no, you're
but
right.
somebody your age would be like, yeah, DePaul.
I think, and I'm sure they did it back in the 30s, but I think Wyoming has been number 1.
Oh, wow. I mean, I had a whole list. I tweeted out a link because I looked it up from 1949 to now, and 53 different programs have been number 1 for at least 1 week, and Purdue's not.
Is there
one of them.
anybody that's been number 1 for only 1 week?
Oh yeah, there are 4 or 5 programs that have been number 1 for
can
only
you
1
look up
week.
who they are?
We'll look it up later because we've
That'd
got
be
some
fun.
we have some more
We
pressing
had
issues to get to today.
I did a survey the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that kids love polls.
No, we have more pressing issues to touch on.
Just look at this thing right there.
We were talking during the break, and I had this
What are
conversation.
you not afraid of? You're afraid of
with-
Purdue Pete. You're afraid of Sage, who's wonderful.
Yeah.
Sage the Owl.
Well, Purdue Pete's pretty horrific, and he's pointing like it just makes me.
What's horrific
Makes
about
me
him? Look at him. He's
uncomfortable.
fun.
Like it's bad enough that he's just there, but he's like your soul gonna suck into
It
my
looks like
body.
Gene Katie.
Yeah, geez, that's awful.
Okay.
Well, my cousin had told me when I was 6 that Purdue Pete was a real person who had his face melted off in a boiler explosion.
Right.
And so the hard plastic face was because he had no nose, no eyes, no mouth remaining. It was just charred flesh.
That's from like Johnny Got His Gun.
Yeah. My cousin is sicko. He was 9 years old when he thought of that. Didn't grow up to be a serial killer.
As far as you know.
Well, yeah, I guess that's
It's not the kind of thing people put on their LinkedIn.
I was in the Colts
You know what I
press
mean?
box. Well, true. I was in the Colts press box yesterday. First time in 2 years that I've been up there. And
Still just the one elevator?
yeah.
Okay.
Talk about a design flaw. But anyway, people don't want to hear that. Charlie Clifford, our friend from Wish 8, was up there, and we're talking at halftime, and we're talking about the 2018 team and the run that they went on, and we're like, well, this team's better. This team, I mean, it just – what sucks about that loss, Jake, is that if you just take away one of those turnovers, they probably win. And think about the statement that it would have made to the rest of the – like, let's forget the fact that suddenly they're one game back in the division, not counting the tiebreaker, but suddenly that's back in play with the win yesterday.
Right.
There were just –
and Tennessee backpedaling.
there were so many things that could have changed the dynamic. And there have been so many points this season where the Colts really could have changed the whole dynamic. If they beat Tennessee in the home game and they blow a 14-0 lead, if they beat Baltimore on Monday Night Football, and just all three of those games going the opposite way, just one thing changes about this season, and they're sitting in the catbird seat right now.
Okay. Here is the good and the bad in terms of what happened yesterday, Derek, for the Colts' postseason chances. The good, they lost to an NFC team, so it doesn't hurt their conference record.
Yeah,
right?
and tiebreakers and all that.
The good, other teams a la Cleveland and Pittsburgh that were junked in with the Colts in the, as I always say, merging, trying to get into the wild card debate, lost. So they
Chargers,
fall back a
too.
little bit.
Yeah.
The Chargers
even
as
though
well.
they lost to the Broncos.
Now, the bad. New England winning doesn't necessarily hurt the Colts. That's good because you want New England at this point. If you're the Colts, you want New England winning the division because you want
I
Buffalo to be the team that you are
the tiebreaker,
competing for the –
especially head-to-head.
right.
Sure.
And you have the opportunity to get that tiebreaker with New England and putting them in that same category. But if you lose to New England wins their division, you at least have the tiebreaker over Buffalo.
Buffalo, you already got in the bag, whereas New England, we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is starting to separate a little bit here. I mean, Cincinnati's playing well. Cincinnati feels like they are trending upward.
Yeah, the Steelers stink.
The Steelers are –
It's amazing they've won 5 games.
the Steelers are really trending down. Tennessee is trending downward.
No, agreed.
But I think that at this point, if you're the Colts, you got to take a wild card. And you need probably 10 wins. Now, it's really going to come down to 3 remaining games. Las Vegas, which I believe is here, right?
Yep.
Arizona, and New England here. You can kind of afford to stub your toe at Arizona possibly because it's, an NFC loss. You've got to get one, and ideally both of those two between the Raiders and the Pats because you would have to think the Jags and Houston games are going to take care of themselves.
Well, yeah, because if you don't get at least one of those and you lose to Arizona, you're 8-9 and you have no chance. 9-8, they actually will have a chance
Yeah, I
if
know.
the loss comes to Arizona and not to, Jacksonville or
I've never
something.
been to Israel. I've never been to Israel.
But I agree, 10 you're almost certainly in. I can't see a scenario. And the rest of those AFC teams, like even Denver, like have you watched Denver this year?
No, Denver's like the most random, still in it team out there.
And Pittsburgh stinks. So I'm not really worried about some of those other teams. And at least with the Raiders, I know they won Thanksgiving. You control your destiny.
The
It feels like with
Chargers
the
are
Raiders.
intriguing because the Chargers can be really good.
Yeah.
And they got, I mean, again, some of these teams are going to cannibalize each other.
Yeah.
Advantage Colts.
And Baltimore, man. Baltimore's like the least impressive
I know.
8-3 team in NFL history.
I know, but they're there,
They
right?
score like 10 points every week and they win. I don't know. It's weird. Or they get behind 10 and then they come back and win. I guess that didn't happen last night. I still think the Colts are in good shape, but they could be in obviously so much better shape.
What do you see when you look in the eyes?
I really don't want to do it. Can we take that down, Jordan,
What-
actually, from
what's-
behind us?
What's wrong with it?
We already kind of did the Purdue Pete
But
thing.
why
and
is he wearing this is at a basketball game. Why
Yeah.
is he wearing football gloves?
He wears the gloves all the time.
I know, but I mean
because his hands were also charred as he was touching his molten flesh. He has no hands.
what's with his chin here? He's got some is that his chin or his neck?
Yeah, he's got some
Blemishes.
detritus or something. It's over there. I'm not really sure.
Purdue
what that
Pete
is
is awesome.
Yeah.
He looks like Gene Katie.
He got chipped out.
It is time for our Indiana Members Credit Union Player of the Game, as we do each and every week. Indiana Members Credit Union, Derek, there's a lot to love about IMCU because if there's one thing you know about this program, It's that we love local. We like locally owned goods. We like locally owned businesses, and that includes Indiana Members Credit Union, which is, of course, keeping your money right here in the Hoosier State.
Free checking accounts with e-statements, low auto rates, and more. See what IMCU can do for you at imcu.com. I thought that the pick was fairly easy this week to me. Did somebody immediately come to mind? Somebody immediately came to mind for me. I wanted to see if it was the same person for you. He was like the one consistent steady Eddie of the offense.
Jack Doyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought Jack Doyle had a really nice game.
breakout game.
He didn't have a Gronk game, but he had a nice game. Caught a tud. Ended up with – what did he end up with? I have the stats somewhere. 81 yards? Caught 6 of his 7 targets for 81 yards. Yeah. So a nice day overall for
and
Jack
a couple
Doyle.
of those catches, Derek, were –
tough ones.
Yeah.
Or big ones, at third down, right. where he'd kind of come through and make a big catch and make a big play. So Jack Doyle was my pick.
I said, we like to keep it local, right?
Yeah.
Cathedral High School, local guy, Jack Doyle. For that matter, played at Western Kentucky, which was the one FBS program that allowed Indiana University to get a win this year over an FBS team. So Jack Doyle, our Indiana Members Credit Union player of the game. Again, free checking with e-statements, low auto rates, imcu.com.
Yeah, so one of the few positives. Quiddy Pay with another sack.
Quiddy Pay's looking good.
I think Isaiah Rodgers has played well and is really kind of pressing for more playing time.
Quiddy Pay had to be still coming off the high of seeing his Wolverines upset Ohio State on Saturday. Derek, the college football playoff, I was wrong about Ohio State, and I could not be more thrilled than I was. I thought for sure Ohio State was going to win it all. I mean, I thought their offense was unbelievable. They are undoubtedly going to be the preseason number 1 next year.
Their offense is unbelievable. Their defense isn't.
You're right.
That's their whole problem.
But Michigan now, did Michigan just kick the door through into the college football playoff? They've got to get past Iowa. But did they also open – when Michigan kicked that door open, did Notre Dame sneak in right behind them?
I don't think really this changed Notre Dame's path much. Because if you think about it, if Ohio State had beaten Michigan, then Michigan's off the table, right? And then Ohio State wins the Big Ten, they're still in anyway. So right. I don't think that game specifically changed anything for Notre Dame.
That's fair.
What's going to change things for Notre Dame is if Oklahoma State beats Baylor, I'm 100% convinced that a 12-1 Big 12 champion is going to jump Notre Dame.
The problem that Notre Dame is going to have with Oklahoma State is Oklahoma State was 1 spot behind Notre Dame.
I think there were 2 spots behind Notre Dame.
Well, 2, but one of those was Oklahoma.
Well,
right?
yeah, but technically they were 2 spots behind.
So Oklahoma State was right behind Notre Dame, and they have an opportunity here to beat a top 10, and then where's Baylor ranked?
9th.
So 2 top 10 teams to finish out.
Yeah. And Notre Dame's sitting at home.
That may put Oklahoma State above Notre Dame. Now,
Notre Dame's sitting at home.
Cincinnati, I'm telling you.
Cincinnati controls their own destiny. If Cincinnati wins, they're in.
They do, but Cincinnati's game against Houston is tricky, man.
For sure.
I'm telling you, that's tricky.
But at least if you're Cincinnati, all you could ask for is, can I control my own destiny? Right. And right now they control their own destiny.
And Georgia is in.
Period. They've been in for weeks.
Georgia's in.
I do want to see what happens with Alabama because if Alabama plays Georgia close, I think a lot of people are going to argue that they deserve the 4th spot. Like, let's say Oklahoma State loses to Baylor. I think people are going to argue that Alabama deserves the 4th spot over Notre Dame.
If Alabama loses close to Georgia, and by close we mean, what, 1 score?
Yeah.
If Alabama loses close to Georgia and Oklahoma State beats Baylor, and it comes down to 2-loss Alabama, 1-loss Big 12.
Oklahoma State has to go because they have the conference championship, I think.
Over Alabama.
Yeah, Notre Dame doesn't have that. So that's why I don't think Notre Dame should go. But
the problem for Notre Dame is this, Derek. Oklahoma State will have beaten Oklahoma, and if they in this
beat
scenario,
Baylor twice.
And Baylor. No, well
they beat Baylor in the regular season
Who
too.
beat them?
Iowa State, I think, maybe.
Okay.
I have to go back and look.
Baylor beat Oklahoma, right? Was that Oklahoma's other loss?
Yeah.
Okay. So Oklahoma State would have wins over Oklahoma and Baylor. 2 top 10 wins. What other teams in this scenario?
Cincinnati won at Notre Dame. Alabama beat Ole Miss.
The problem
top 10
is,
win.
The problem is
Notre Dame doesn't have a top 10
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's best wins are Wisconsin and Purdue.
If it comes down to Oklahoma State versus Notre Dame, and you're arguing it, and they both have 1 loss, Oklahoma State's loss is – the problem is, Notre Dame might have the better loss, if you will, but they don't have any signature
They don't
win.
have the conference championship.
I mean, they have Wisconsin, which is decent.
They don't have the conference championship. I mean, that's all it comes down to. It doesn't. Oklahoma State's resume is better than
You
Notre
think so?
Dame's for sure. Oh yeah, but Oklahoma State will have the conference championship too. That's why they'd go.
How random would it be? Like, what would you have won in a parlay at the beginning of the year if you could have predicted the Final Four to be Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State?
But good. You know what? Like, we needed
I agree.
Good. I hope that's the case because I was tired of the – you weren't. I was tired of the Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State show.
If your
I was tired
team,
of it.
If your
And
team
Oklahoma.
fails to make the college football playoff, if your team fails, whether you're a fan of Clemson, like myself, you're a fan of Notre Dame, like Derek, you're a fan of Indiana, Purdue, whatever it might be, Iowa, if your team fails, just remember this. So did Ohio State. And we
I
can
can't
all have a
stand
Merry
Michigan,
Christmas.
though. I can't. I love Harbaugh, though, so I was happy
you really?
for Harbaugh. I was happy for
But
him.
this
that he
is
came
cool
through.
right here, right?
It's
I mean,
cool. It's been a long time coming, man. You know, they
like it's snowy. It's just
They
it's kinda
hadn't
cool.
won that game in 10 years. They'd won it twice in the last 20. I mean, you talk about one-sided domination. You know, we talk about Purdue beating Indiana like 5 years in a row, like it's this long streak. Look at Michigan, Ohio
How about
State
Purdue?
in this century.
Derek, how about Purdue? Credit to Jeff Brom. There was a lot of question about whether or not Purdue had made the, not the wrong decision with Jeff Brom, but like, did they give him too much money too early? Ninth highest paid coach in college football. Purdue is boiling. Looks like they're going to be going to the Bahamas or Las Vegas or whatever it might be.
Maybe Nashville, I think, Music City.
I heard
perhaps?
Music City in there
Okay.
as well, but good for
It's a great
the
season.
Boilers.
You know what? If they would have, and I hate to make this about what ifs because you can ifs, ands, and buts, right? They thoroughly outplayed Minnesota in the first week of October. They had like 29 first downs to Minnesota's 10, I think, and they lost that game close. They would have won that game, they'd be coming to Indianapolis.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's how close they were to that path. But it's a great season, 8-4. It's
Yeah,
their
it's
first
cool.
8-4 season since
I think good for Purdue,
08.
right?
First 8-win season since then. Only the third, I think, since Tiller's peak, which was 2003. Great year, really good team. I saw that line was like 17, and I thought, you got to be kidding me. Indiana can't score more than 7
Hey,
points.
listen, Derek, Indiana.
So if you thought that Purdue was going to score more than 3 tuds, that's a winning bet.
Indiana has, and I know that they were hurt at quarterback position, but Indiana has some decent talent. That was a team that flat out quit.
Yeah, they weren't even competitive.
Indiana was completely
Yeah,
checked
they
out,
weren't even
mailed in.
competitive.
Say what you want about a coach with a $30 million buyout, and I know he's a great guy, and people want to love him because he knows a lot of people in Indianapolis, and that's cool. And I think Tom Allen is a really good human being. But as a football coach, he had a team that completely quit on him.
But that was it was a footnote on Saturday, I felt like. Indiana played in the game, and
Well,
it's
it was
a
a
rivalry
foregone
game.
conclusion,
but
right?
Yeah, but honestly, I didn't once think about, I didn't even think about Indiana during that game because I was thinking about what this season meant for Brom.
They lost 10 games.
Who just needed, 0-9,
games.
winless in the Big Ten for the first time in 10 years. For Purdue to come back and have that kind of season after the disappointment of 19 and 20, and for Brom to fulfill that promise. How about Aiden O'Connell? Aiden O'Connell's going to be all Big Ten. You talk about bets before the season. If I would have come to you and said Aiden O'Connell is going to be the second best quarterback in the Big Ten this year,
they got a big time quarterback coming in.
he looked like
But
the second
listen,
best
Derek,
quarterback on his team.
right here, Tom Allen, and again, I'm not saying he's not a very nice and decent human being and a guy that you wouldn't want, giving your kids life. I get all that. But from an X's and O's standpoint, Tom Allen's got one more year to prove that he's not just more my fear has always been that Tom Allen was a more likable Tom Crean. All the side antics and the clap and the rah, 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 and all that is overshadowing the fact that people aren't looking at it going, X's and O's standpoint, they seem to be getting outplayed and out schemed. He's got a year to get it turned around, but Indiana, again, Indiana athletics, man, they love overpaying on potential. So they're stuck with him. They better hope it works out.
And I don't think that this was next year. Clearly, if they go 2-10 again, you can't bring them back.
You have to.
They'll find. It's like with what happened with Archie Miller. You find somebody to pay that out.
It's a lot easier to
will.
get people to pay for Indiana
But
basketball than Indiana
again,
football.
I don't think that that's going to happen again for Indiana. With Purdue, with Brom, I don't think this was necessarily a make or break year, but this was okay. Show me your for real year, and I think they showed that.
Which is more likely? Which is more likely next year? Purdue again wins 8 games or more, or Indiana sub 500?
Well, Purdue's going to lose Karlaftis and Bell. And recruiting class, they're not going to get a ton of help, at least when you look at the recruiting rankings. So it's probably less likely that Purdue – I think Indiana is going to get back to that 5 to 7 win range. That's where I think that they're going to be, and maybe have the potential every once in a while to get to 8 or 9. I think Purdue's ceiling is a little bit higher, potentially, especially in the Big Ten West, than what Indiana's is. But I think the last 2 years for Purdue and this year for Indiana were both kind of outliers, where Purdue was never as bad as what 19 and 20 was, and Indiana was never as bad as what this year was. And I think that in the future that'll come to fruition.
You know where you can find a lot of Purdue fans?
Where's that?
With the American Dairy Association Farmers of Indiana. A lot of ag
for sure
programs at Purdue.
Like we carry them on our radio channel. All their spots were ag spots.
Right.
Go get your soybean oil there at Dale's Butcher Shop. Or, well, I guess you wouldn't have soybean oil at Butcher Shop. Dale's Tractor Supply and Feed Company. And I was like, oh, okay.
Why?
I haven't
Why
really
are you
thought of
mocking this?
No, I'm not mocking it.
Natural
I'm just saying
segue
that's
into
what
our
a lot of
friends from the American.
That's what a lot of the spots were.
I'd like personally, Jenny, Brooke, all of you at the American Dairy Association of Indiana, those ag farmers, redundant, that Derek was just mocking. Just remember, it was this guy that was spinning the positive segue into the American
If your
Dairy
combine
Association.
ain't combining, call Tommy down the road at 317-765, whatever it is. I'm like, oh, okay. He advertised with Purdue football. Good for Tommy.
Okay.
Servicing your combine.
Would you like to drink milk next?
Is that wheat combine?
Combines do everything.
They run
That's
over
why
corn?
it's called a combine. It does everything.
Yeah.
It's called a combine. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It does everything.
I'm from suburban Connecticut, so some of this is still a little bit new to me, even though I've been out here for a long time.
Okay. It's like
Yeah,
it's like the air pump at the gas station. Okay. You can put air in your tire, or you can use it to like blow stuff. It does both.
The air pump of the guys.
The vacuum at Mike's, you can either do it to, suction it out or blow stuff out. It does everything. Okay. That's what the combine does.
Good.
That's why it's called the combine.
Learning about farm stuff.
Yeah,
I rarely learn anything from Jake on this show, so that's good that we have that. Plenty more to get to, and
including
we'll come back.
drinking milk and salvaging our relationship with those fine people.
We'll come back with all of it next. It's Corey and Schultz.
I have the milk facts right here.
Good. Glad that you're prepared for us.
I am.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us.
Derek, did you give me erroneous information earlier?
I'm Derek Schultz.
You said Purdue is ranked 3rd.
In the poll that I saw, Purdue was 3rd.
Was that AP?
I have no idea.
I trust you to get these things right.
Well, are you looking it up right now? Because I'm looking at
trying.
it right now. Okay. Well, you're on your phone's not going to do very well in here.
Why not?
Well, it's like our radio studio where a lot of it is blocked.
Okay.
Oh, Purdue's 2nd in the AP.
Yeah.
They got 9 first-place votes. Coaches poll, no rankings available. Well, what poll did I see that had – I saw a poll last night, Sunday night. We're taping this right now on Monday that had Purdue third.
Wait, you saw it when?
Last night.
Derek. And yet you said on the show it just came out. We need we need to have a meeting about this.
It comes out Sunday night, does it not?
No, you need better attention to detail.
USA Today men's college basketball.
I can tell you right now. I haven't even looked at it. You ready for me to tell you the top 5? You ready?
This one has UCLA second. Oh, wait, no, this is from hold on, November 22nd. I don't want that one. That's the most current one. Here, hold on. Let me hit refresh. Refresh. That is still the most current one. So I guess we don't know. We don't know if Purdue might be number 1 in one of those polls, but I think it's unlikely. If Duke is number 1 in the AP. So we
just did an entire segment on information you gave me that was from last week?
It's not relevant whether Purdue is 2 or 3. Your question was, is Purdue going to be 1? And if Duke got 58 first-place votes in the AP, that means there's no chance the coach is going to put them number 1.
There is or is not a new poll out?
There's a new poll out. It's the AP. Duke is number 1. Purdue is number 2.
Okay.
But Duke had 58 first-place votes,
right?
Which lends me to believe that even when the coaches poll comes out later today, apparently, because I guess it doesn't come out, so I don't know. I don't pay attention to the polls. Who cares? It's November.
You're the one that just said, 53 teams have only been ranked number 1 once.
You broached the topic, so this is.
But you had all this information because you'd done all this research, and then you come out and you say, well, actually, what I was looking at was, you know what I mean? Like, breaking news. Hall & Oates is number 1 on the Billboard chart. Oh, my apologies. I was looking at the list from 1983.
I mean, if you want me to be blunt about it, you bring up a lot of dumb stuff on the show, and it's my job as any good co-host. Sometimes you have to carry your dead-ass co-host around, and that's what I was doing. With that
in that regard, just a little honesty about when you were researching is fine.
The college basketball polls in November, my God. We've got 800 things to talk about today, and that's what you want to talk about? Who's ranked who on November, whatever today is, 29th?
I'm just saying, one would think that, like, you were the one that was sending out, like, Twitter facts about it, so obviously it was what I was trying to do was lift my dead co-host who was tweeting out weird stuff.
All right.
Did you want to drink milk?
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you want to screw that up,
brought
too?
to you by American Dairy Association, Indiana. Thanks to our dairy farmers. All right, go ahead.
I'm sure.
I'll just sit back. I'm just along for the ride.
The American Dairy Association.
Just along for the ride.
Sally, again, which of us is the one that you truly want representing the brand here, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Did you know, folks, that when you drink ice-cold, low-fat chocolate milk after a workout, what you're doing is a body good? Because ice-cold chocolate milk has as much potassium as, I think it's potassium as a banana, right?
You got it.
Well, there's so much in there that I get confused.
As much protein as 2 cups of raw spinach?
No, as much calcium as 10 cups of raw spinach. As much calcium as 10 cups of raw spinach. Derek, as much potassium as a banana, and
protein,
as much what as 2 eggs?
Protein.
No.
Folate.
No. As much vitamin A as 2 boiled eggs.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the recovery nutrition that you need out of ice-cold chocolate milk. And as always, the American Dairy Association of Indiana, Winners Drink Milk, sponsoring our winner of the week. Derek, I have my own idea on this, but you go ahead with your idea.
How about Gibson Southern football in Fort Branch, Indiana?
That is correct. Southern Indiana, I believe. Southern part of Gibson County.
Okay. Sure. I never heard of Fort Branch, Indiana, but congrats to, I don't know if they still do they still do like the fire truck parades and all that when somebody wins state? I love that. It's just such a cool, like, throwback sort of a thing.
How about Brady Allen's?
They were down 19 points, I think, in the second quarter. It looked like Brebuff was going to run away and came all the way back. Brady Allen was huge, 5 tuds, 400 yards. But also, how about, I want to make sure I get his name right, Rory Heltzley broke the single-game IHSAA state finals receiving record with 218 yards. So a great win for Gibson Southern, a great win for that community, and what a comeback as well. Wow, against a really good Brebuff team.
So, again, Brady Allen on his way to Purdue, where he inevitably, I'm sure, will meet some kids that themselves might become dairy farmers, right? The American Dairy Association of Indiana.
Maybe he'll meet Tom's son from Tom's Combine Shop. Go get your combine cleaned at 765-414-3722. We never close.
They never close?
I don't know. I'm just making that part up. Don't farmers wake up at like 3 a.m.? When do they actually sleep?
This waking
Got
up
animals to feed and combines to service.
Waking up at 6 a.m. is rough.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking 3 hours earlier than that for somebody, especially dairy farmers that have to wake up. Let's talk about, and I love doing a once-a-week show because at least we get to keep it alive. But one thing that is a drawback about doing a once-a-week show is that sometimes things happen on like Thursday or Friday night, and like if you're watching this right now and it's Wednesday or Thursday, this is a week old, and it already feels a week old. But I think it was such a big topic that I wanted to touch on it. Purdue, the Pacers, whatever night that was it the night before Thanksgiving? Wednesday, right? Or maybe it was Tuesday, whatever it was. Played the Lakers. They lost in overtime. LeBron went off. There was a time in that game where LeBron pointed to two fans, a female and a male. They look younger. Look like both were in their 20s, I'd say. Maybe the young man might have been even younger than that. And got them ejected from the game. And what do we know about LeBron James? Everybody hates LeBron James, right? Because they knocked the Pacers out a bunch of those years, blah, 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 blah. People just hate LeBron, period, even if you don't have a team that he frequently dunks on like he has to the Pacers over the 20 years that he's been in the league. And we've talked about this, Jake, and I think it's one of the areas where you and I are on the same page, and there aren't a lot of topics that we talk about that. I just think that people need to not excuse fan behavior that is, we can determine what's over the line, what's not over the line. I've been to thousands of live sporting events, and especially in the pro ones, you hear some horrible things said and you see some horrible things done. And people need to be accountable for what they do and what they say at this game. Buying a ticket does not give you the right to say things, and who knows what was said, right? There was a talk about, it's Bronny getting in a car accident. I mean, God forbid that's what they said. But to say things like that to another person.
Look, a couple of things in play here, Derek. I agree with you. Number one, in regards to LeBron James, people could say what they want about LeBron James and being a social spokesperson, that they disagree with his social takes, whatever, or his timing of when to say it. As a player and as a person, LeBron James is a generational player in the fact that he, there are very few players generationally. I mean, honestly, one per generation, where everybody knows they are the best at their sport. You can debate whether he is right now, but for the majority of his career, it has been non-debated that he is the best basketball player in the world, right? When that happens, and when you're winning championships and you're going to the finals every year, people naturally dislike you. Sometimes people feel you are a threat. You're a threat to their team. You're a threat to the legacy of your favorite player, whatever it might be. In LeBron James' case, Derek, he is the first athlete, or the first era of athletes, that have spent his entirety of his career where people have this. Okay? Now, people love to bring down who's at the top. LeBron James, for as much as, and for the Pacers looking at LeBron James historically and being upset by him, knocked out by him, defeated by him, hitting game shots down the stretch, everything else. That's not unique to Indiana. Denver fans feel that way about him.
He gets that everywhere.
Correct. Everyone would love to bring him down. Yet in an era where everybody has a camera or a video camera in their pocket or in their hand, I have yet to see video of someone posting of LeBron yelling at a woman at a Starbucks, or starting a fight with somebody, or acting, without civility at a bar, or pulling the, do you know who I am? Never seen any of it, right? In this circumstance, I don't know exactly what was said by those two fans. And I think anybody who tells you they do definitively know what was said that wasn't actually sitting right there, or are those two fans, are lying or going, believing the same hyperbole that you read elsewhere. To me, what was very telling, when he turned around to the referee, they were already grabbing their jacket. And the people sitting around him, you didn't see a single person, Derek. I was at a Colts game years ago where a Green Bay Packer fan and a cheesehead was really drunk, and some Colts fans were kind of, to use a Leave It to Beaver term, giving him the business. Mm-hmm. And words are starting to get exchanged, and security came to eject the Packers fan. And he's going, I didn't do anything. And several people in the area were like, whoa, 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 you got the wrong guy. And they actually stood up for this guy.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, sorry, we got the wrong person.
Fans will usually do the right thing, yeah.
In that circumstance, when LeBron James came walking over, did you see a single fan come to the defense of those two people?
No.
And they got up and immediately, I don't know about you, Derek, but if I'm sitting in those seats, and it gets slippery there because those seats are usually Pacer brass related seats.
Yeah.
I don't think those people were a part of that.
They're Jake Query type seats.
yeah,
I
right.
mean, only a certain level of person
but
can
those
get
two
seats.
If people that are sitting in those seats typically would be like, defend themselves, state their case. They got up and walked right out. They wanted no part of it. I'm not saying this is the case in this situation. Didn't appear to be. But the Pacers now, and I assume this is true of a lot of NBA teams, the lower, like front three seats now have access to a bar restaurant that is part of the seat experience that has free food and drink, which is wonderful. And 99.9% of people responsibly enjoy it. You go and you have dinner and you have a beer before the game, and then you walk out and you watch the game, and at halftime you go and you have another beer, and that's it. But you are going to see when you have unlimited free alcohol, I'm not saying necessarily at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, somewhere across the league you're going to see a situation where somebody has too much to drink, if that's the same circumstance, and these things are going to happen. But in this case, people can say what they want about LeBron James is too thin-skinned or he's a crybaby or whatever else. But all I needed to see is that not a single person, including the two that were ejected, had any problem with it.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? Right?
Well,
like when your mom caught you smoking cigarettes, right? Did you balk at it or did you know you were guilty?
No, I just kind of it was my mom. I felt horrible. Yeah, so it's terrible. My mom just has this gift of guilting people. It just makes you feel horrible.
Did you quit smoking?
No.
didn't,
In front of her, I did. Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to. She found a pack of cigarettes and put a Post-it note on it that's had a sad face on it, and I felt terrible. Way worse than anything my dad did, yelling at me, drinking, or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Way worse.
What about when you got arrested in college and as a result had to eat only mac and cheese and gain a bunch of weight?
There are some things that have happened that
I'm just saying
that they're not aware of, and they do watch this show. So let's.
Oh, they're not aware of that?
Let's just.
You mentioned it on the radio once.
Well, they didn't listen to that show.
Oh, really?
Statute of limitations. They didn't have an AM radio, so weren't able to hear it.
Derek had to pay a substantial fine and used his money that his parents were spending for
I
his
just told you not to
room and
bring that
board,
up.
and then as a result had to eat nothing but mac and cheese for like 6 weeks, and he gained 35 pounds.
It was 6 days before my 21st birthday. We were getting a keg for my 21st birthday. I was in the car picking up the keg, got pulled over by excise police. Cop looks at my ID and says, "So when's your birthday?" Thursday, sir. Oh, tough break.
Rules is rules.
So, yeah.
What kind of?
But what an upstanding young man that I was that I decided I'm not going to ask my mom and dad for help. Instead, I'm going to pay this ticket myself. And I did.
What keg of what?
Beer?
I mean, what kind of beer?
We used to get the cheap stuff, but anything but Rolling Rock.
What's
You
wrong with
ever
Rolling
drink
Rock?
a Rolling Rock keg? Ugh.
Rolling Rock, by the way,
Awful.
in Canada,
Yeah.
if you go to any bar in Toronto,
Yeah.
the very first thing on their list of imports is Rolling Rock. Rolling Rock is huge in Toronto.
I don't think I've even
I like
had
Rolling
it
Rock.
since college.
What's the 33?
We
on the
had
back
friends at the Villa. I don't know. There were all kinds of rumors about what that meant. We had friends at the Villas that every time they threw a party, they get a Rolling Rock keg, and it like ruined the parties.
Why?
Because it was gross. I didn't like Rolling Rock.
Pennsylvania beer.
Is that where it's made?
Yeah,
I
Latrobe,
didn't even know that.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Is it like a horse farm? Because there's a horse on it, isn't there?
I think they're
Yeah.
it's a horse farm.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They come down and you pet the horses and then go see the beer. Yeah.
Head on over to Bill's Horse Farm. Proud sponsor Purdue football and Rolling Rock beer.
You know who's combine?
We never close.
You know where they get their combine cleaned, right? Do we have other stuff to get to here?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Okay.
Let's thank our sponsors, Bailey & Wood, as well, Bailey & Wood Financial Group, for bringing you this amazing television program.
I'm sure they're thrilled.
BAWFG.com.
On this episode 63, Jeff Saturday, their spokesperson, because Bailey & Wood, Derek, they get you mortgages.
There you go.
In a snap.
In a snap.
That's right.
Ooh, that was a good one. That was a sharp-sounding one. So number 63, Jeff Saturday, and everything just kind of goes hand in hand with this. But if you're looking to refi, Rates still closing in the twos. They're still at 50-year lows. Or if you're in the housing market and looking to buy a new home, you have to get that pre-approval because it's still a very competitive market out there. Call Mike and his team, 13 Indiana branch locations, 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com. And the Dolphins actually started to play a little bit better.
Yeah,
I think the Dolphins, they win their fifth game?
Knocked Cam Newton out of the game.
Yeah. There are a lot of just, not bad teams, but just teams this year, right?
Miami, and you mentioned Denver earlier. I mean, Denver's hanging around, and I'm like, are they good?
Yeah, how do they win at all?
Who's the worst team in the league?
The worst two, Detroit has at least been competitive. I think the two worst teams in the league are Houston and Jacksonville. I think those are the two worst teams in the league.
Jets?
I'm telling you, I think Zach Wilson looks terrible, by the way. I think those are the two worst teams, pound for pound.
I'm going to do a Twitter survey on this. Houston, Jacksonville, Jets,
Detroit. I think those are the four, really, at this point. Because the Dolphins have actually played their way out of that discussion now. I thought for a while the Dolphins might be the worst team in the league, honestly. But they've gone on, a little bit of a mini run, death rattle here, whatever you want to call it. We have some more features to get to. Did you want to talk college basketball? I'm always worried about that.
I don't know. Have you updated your poll knowledge?
It's so time sensitive because Indiana and Purdue do open up Big Ten play. They got the Big Ten ACC Challenge coming up later this week. We'll touch on that. Plus, Biter, Bowl Bleep, and other things to get to. It's Query and Schultz here on
Quick
ISC,
hits, which are
Sports
well earned
Network.
today.
Brought to you by Timmy's Combine.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
You made fun of me, Jake, for this ranking-wise, but I do have some updated poll news for Purdue, factoids, if you will.
Okay.
So Purdue, number 2, as we found out in the AP ranking. That's actually their highest AP ranking of all time. They haven't been number 2. You want to guess the last time they were number 2 in the AP poll? It'll probably only take you 2 guesses.
Well, I know they were number 2 in '88 when they came to Indiana and lost, but I'm certain they were number 2 when, I hate to say this for Purdue fans, when Robbie Hummel hurt his knee.
Not in the AP poll.
Okay.
They were number 3, I think, when that happened, if I remember right.
Okay,
Maybe they were number 2 in the coaches.
Is it in my lifetime?
Yeah, it's 88. It's the Three Amigos,
Okay,
the Troy Lewis, Everett Stevens, Todd Mitchell team. On March 7th of 1988, so when they were entering that NCAA tournament, they were number 2 in the AP. Matches the highest ranking in school history. 10 other weeks, Purdue in the AP, or not in the AP, just in polls in general, has been number 2, but never number 1.
Is this the year? It's going to be tough now because I can't see Gonzaga losing.
And Duke's schedule, I mean, another Gonzaga loss is going to happen in the next 3 weeks because that league is gotten better.
St. Mary's could beat them.
It's still and I think one of those programs like San Francisco has gotten pretty good. BYU's a decent program.
St. Mary's. I watched St. Mary's against. Who were they playing? They were playing out in one of those tournaments in Las Vegas, the Maui or one of them. I can't remember who I watched them play, but St. Mary's looked good.
The problem with that league, though, is that the second half of it is low mid-major level teams. You know,
Gonzaga and Duke. When I watched that game, Derek, it's just a different level because Purdue is in this group, but they literally have 5 players on the floor at all times that can all get their own shot from anywhere instantly.
Yeah.
2 passes, zip, boom, 3-pointer, good. I mean,
the funny thing about the difference, like if you're ranked 22nd, you probably have a pro. Maybe you've got another guy that's the potential to be a pro. If you're ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you've got 3 no-brainer pros,
right,
and probably 3 or 4 other guys that are going to be pros.
Right.
And that's the difference. And you'd even say that about Purdue. I mean, Ivy, Edey, and Travion Williams are all going to be pro. Sasha Stefanovic is going to be a pro player.
Maybe not in the NBA, but
yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a scout, but I think you would firmly say that about the other.
In 1987, Derek, I went to the Indiana-Michigan State game with Eric Barrett and Rob Whitaker. And we had very good seats from Rob Whitaker's father, and I had a camera, a Kodak disc, and I was taking pictures. And Steve Alford was at the free throw line. I took a picture, and he missed the free throw. And Rob Whitaker's father, Bob, turned around to me and said, "Oh, that's going to cost him." You know, we laughed because they were up 10 or whatever. Alford finished that game with 42 points. Indiana won, I think it was 84-80. Can you look up the 1987 Indiana-Michigan State score? I'm pretty certain it was 84-80. And Alford had 42. He scored half of their points.
Made one rule on this show, and that is I never have to look up box scores from 1980s Indiana basketball games. That was like the one rule that we established on the show, but I'll do this for you.
But I'm fairly certain the score was 84-80, and Alford had 42. That was an Assembly Hall record. Steve Alford finished his Big Ten playing career, his career, as the second all-time leading scorer in the Big Ten behind Mike McGee of Michigan by 1 point. Calbert Chaney has since broken that record. Trace Jackson Davis scored 43 in Assembly Hall, an all-time Assembly Hall record over the weekend. That free throw Steve Alford missed would have tied him with Trace Jackson Davis. So Bob Whitaker was correct. It not only cost Alford once, it cost him twice on that picture I took of the free throw.
And Warren's mentioning that we didn't mention Trace Jackson Davis, but 43 points is crazy. And the efficiency that he did it as well. How many shots did he take? 19?
He could have been our winner of the week, yeah.
Something like that. I don't want to ignore it.
Sean Reshford at Michigan State had the all-time opponent record in Assembly Hall, I think also 42. And I was at that game as well. And then, of course, I wasn't there for
They don't have box scores from 87.
Just not box scores, just
reference.
the score. Just the
Oh,
score
the
of the season.
Okay.
The Indiana-Michigan State game in Assembly Hall in the 86-87 season, I'm fairly certain the final score was 84-80.
Let's see. 14-10. Wait, well, hold on. That's football. It wouldn't have been 14-10 in a basketball game.
Put up with this. 10 years.
College basketball reference, 1987 or 86-87 Indiana Hoosiers. I told you that's why I don't like looking this stuff up. Roster and stats.
Now you're going to look up
more
the wrong
pages.
thing.
Schedule and results.
Yes, schedule and results. There we go.
All right, load up there. Oh, wait, hold on. HBO Max. I don't want that. That's an ad.
Just squirrel on a
I don't want
smoke
HBO
break
Max.
here.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Big Ten. Wait, hold on. These are 122 seasons. Wait, I don't want that. That's Indiana's entire seasons. Hang on. Okay, team and opponent stats. No, I want schedule and results. So I was trying to click out of HBO Max, and I think I got.
Let me just do this right here.
I got it right here.
Okay, great.
All right, so the game in Bloomington.
Yes.
Who are they playing?
Michigan State.
Yeah, 84-80. 18-2 at that point.
Okay. Then what was the final score again?
84-80.
Right here.
Yeah, good job. Really relevant to remember basketball games from 40 years ago. I guess that's what you have to do as an IU basketball fan, unfortunately.
That's true.
Let's get to a couple of more of our features. Our Sage Move of the Week I want to touch on, but you've got the hat right in front of you there, Jake. You already wore the Derry hat, so you got to wear the Chateau hat, too.
Okay.
For our friends at
it's like Victory Circle for the
at Chateau Kitchens.
I like this hat. This
doing
is sweet
great
lid.
remodeling work. They posted a photo at Chateau Kitchens, so photos, plural, on their Instagram account where they went into a house in, I think it was in Carmel, maybe it was in Westfield.
Carmel.
And you know how like the style very early 2000s was kind of like that, almost like wood paneling and the darker countertops, which whatever is fine. I know that still some houses have that. It's now better to go like lighter, like white and gray and you know those kind of colors. And it looked That's my color palette, so it matched my color palette.
Your color
specifically, but I just thought it looked amazing. All their photos look amazing, but this one stylistically really matched up with it gave off Derek Schultz vibes. And I think people watching the show kind of understand the vibes that I give
Shannon
off.
wants to redo her kitchen.
Yeah.
And she keeps mentioning splash guards. Do you know what the splash guards are?
Like on the sink?
I don't know. She just keeps saying, like, I really want to get a splash guard here.
Well, I mean, she can do that. She can do a farmhouse sink where you just put it down in the middle and then you have no counter over the top. It's just the sink. That's kind of become like a trendy thing. Has she mentioned backsplash? Has she thought about like a nice
that's it.
a subway tile?
Backsplash. That's
I was trying to think of
That's
splash guards. I was like in your sink.
Splash guards maybe are on your backsplash. That's
Does she like a subway tile, or what was she thinking? You can get real funky
Well, I
with the
eat
designs.
at Subway all the time. I've never looked at their tiles.
Steven, or I guess Megan would be the person to talk to. She was our project designer on our current
Backsplash.
project about Backsplash. And you can go pick it out, and they take you through the whole process. They hold your hand through the whole process. They're the experts. They take care of it, and they do amazing work.
Okay.
ChateauKitchens.com.
right?
ChateauKitchens.com. WGU Indiana Sage Move of the Week. We had mentioned it already because it was such a big win
Zoom in on Sage there.
for that program.
See
It was
my
really,
bad spray tanned hand.
it's Michigan's most relevant win in 20 years.
Zoom. Hang on.
I'm trying
Derek,
to.
you
I'm
keep talking.
trying
I'm
to
gonna
think
go
of
put
when
Zoom
Michigan
front and
football
center.
even won like a bowl game that was real relevant over the last 20 years. And I think that Marlon Jackson team might have won the Orange Bowl. Or you're blocking everything. Yeah, see. Just go back to the empty chair, Jordan. That's a better shot anyway. Let's just have that. Okay. Yeah. See, that's what's going to make a great show. Just having that chair be empty from now on.
You know what they say when you look at that? You know what you say?
What? I don't even know if anybody can hear you right now. You're not even close to a microphone. All right.
Sitting there. That's what you say.
All right, are you good?
WGU Indiana.
Yep, people saw it. Okay. Good. Now you can come back to the seat.
WGU Indiana, by the way, is Indiana's largest online accredited university. Whether you are thinking about going back to school and finishing that degree you've left on the table, or maybe you're changing careers and you need an altogether new degree and you need to start from scratch. The beauty about WGU Indiana is that it is, of course, on your schedule, your time. Derek's wife got one of her degrees from WGU Indiana. Again, the largest online accredited university in the state. You got to love it. WGU.edu/Indiana, where you can see all the classes you can take.
My move of the week is Michigan sticking with Jim Harbaugh. It would have been really easy. Last year was a disaster. And maybe you say, okay, it was a COVID year, whatever. But it just looked like the program had no direction at all. Like it was just rudderless. And I think it would have been easy for Michigan to say, you know what, we're going to bite the bullet here and just cash our losses and move on. And they didn't do that. And for Harbaugh to respond, like, let's be honest, Jake, as much as it pains me to say, Michigan should be 12-0. They had no business losing that game to Michigan State. They're the better team. I think we all knew they were the better team. They outplayed them in that game outside of some penalties late and a little bit of a mini collapse. But it's been fun for me to poke fun at Michigan. You know, oh, they go 9-3 every year and they never actually win anything. But for them to make the statement, not only to beat Ohio State, but to really bulldoze them on that last drive. I mean, they kicked their,
They did
on that last drive. They were clearly better than them. And now have a chance for the playoff. Good for Harbaugh. That's the one thing that I remain consistent on, though. I really did think that Jim Harbaugh was going to do a good job. He's done a great job everywhere else he's been. Why wouldn't he do a great job at Michigan? As the Michigan man, right? And to finally see it come to fruition for him, good for him. And I guess good for Michigan.
When we come back, love that play. We'll put a bow tie on as well with some quick hits and our buy it or bull Schultz as we continue here on Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Back for a final time here on Corey and Schultz.
Do you
Isn't that
think
great?
people
We
would-
didn't even talk about who's going to lead it out. And now you're talking over me, but we didn't even talk about who's going to lead it out. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take it. That's how much we know each other.
Do you
Built a
think
rapport.
people are still listening or watching?
Yeah, we track all this stuff, and it peaks. Like, for instance, like there's a camera right here. What is this? Camera 3. So you can actually track it to, like, right now we'll get a peak of viewership because people like what, you know, it's like you do those study groups. You turn the knob, you like, you dislike. People turn the knob like whenever they see this. And then when it goes to our other camera here, which is camera what? Yeah, dislike,
Okay.
like that. So you can
know,
can even track that point.
Earlier, for those of you behind
Sorry for
the
our
scenes,
podcast listeners. They're like, what the hell's going on?
for those that are not here, obviously, in studio when we record this program, Derek has now worked at the ISC network for how long, Derek?
It'll be a year in like a week.
Okay.
Yeah, or mid-December.
So we're sitting in here before we're about to start, and Derek says to one of the camera guys here, Jake or Jordan or somebody, he goes, you might want to white balance. And then he turns to me. White balance, by the way, is on a camera where you point the camera towards something that is white, and that sets the color tone for the camera. And Derek says to me, you know, in television, the cameras have what's called white balance. Now,
Yeah.
let me just inform you folks of
Just
something.
explaining. Talk a little inside baseball, but yeah.
The first ever live sporting event done on camera in the state of Indiana for a live broadcast was the 1948 Indianapolis 500. I know this because I've seen the camera many, many times. That was one of them that worked on the broadcast because it's held in the basement of Channel 6, which is a place that I worked for nearly 20 years. So Derek is explaining to me white balance, which is kind of like explaining to a dentist what flossing is, right?
Well, to be fair, Jake, that was probably a time in your life when you were still like kind of a go-getter and motivated and working real hard. I worked with you in the second portion of your life where you weren't like that at all. And so you don't know anything about radio, and you worked in radio. You still work in radio, right? So I just assumed, I
what
guess,
is there
that you
to
didn't
know
know
about
anything
radio?
about television.
What is there to know about radio?
There's all kinds of engineering that goes into radio and audio levels and all
on
that.
talk.
Well, that's your whole
Off.
problem. Whenever there was something wrong,
Now
you were
talk
like,
what you really think.
Is your mic in program? Is it in audition? Is it feeding the right channel? And you never worried about it. You just sit there, I'm here,
I don't-
backwards hat. bleh."
I don't audition
It's
for anything.
2:58
I just tell them I'm
PM.
interested.
My mic's not working. Okay, well, it's not in program, and it has to be in program. Like, you didn't know any of that stuff.
Okay.
I had to hold your hand through all of that. Smoke and
We
Barrel
were in
Barbecue.
different buildings. Thankfully, you weren't holding my hand at all.
Delicious. We love talking about Smoke and Barrel. I love talking about all our sponsors every week, but I've really, really enjoyed this partnership with Mike and CJ and
They
their
sent a
team.
great family photo of them for the holiday, Derek.
Yeah, really cool, and that's what it's about.
Great looking family.
You mentioned it, Jake, earlier with our IMCU read and with Bailey and Wood. We like to obviously support Indiana businesses. It was Small Business Saturday over the weekend, but family businesses too, and that's what it's about. I mean, it's a husband and wife team. He's in the kitchen. She's doing social media and everything else with their Instagram account and all that. You can follow Smoke and Barrel Barbecue.
Smoke and Barrel Barbecue.
But go over to East German Church Road.
Yep.
And get over, or I guess it would be South German Church Road,
As a church, as opposed to West German Church Road.
and get out there and
German Church Road on the east side.
That's right, and get out there and get brisket tacos and their delicious sides. Their mac and cheese is still the best I've ever had. Or you can call ahead and then pick up, which a lot of people do.
Which I thought was fabulous for the holiday. I saw that they were basically booked
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah.
They're like, hey. And those folks
always
that
good.
did do that for the holidays, absolutely thrilled with it. Smoke and Barrel Barbecue. Again, their website, Derek, is?
Smokin'-barrel-bbq.com.
Okay.
Let's get to our Love That Play, brought to you by our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, 353-2141, love-hvac.com. Especially this time of year. It's getting cold at night, so if you've got heater problems, have Chris, Mike, and their team come out and take a look at that.
317-353-2141.
We'll see. I don't know if they do combines, but I know that they do heating and air conditioning. Love That Play this week. What did I pick? Here it is. Did you see the Dayton buzzer beater to beat?
Yeah. How about that? Dick Vitale went nuts. Kansas ranked in the top 5 at Dayton, right? They were playing in Dayton?
No,
Or
they're
was it
playing in
neutral?
Orlando. Yeah,
Okay,
it was
neutral
a
floor.
tournament in Orlando.
Dayton goes for what theoretically looks like the game winner, kind of a floater in the lane, and the kid misses it, and you think, oh, man, like the dream is over. Dayton doesn't pull off the upset. It was kind of a rebound basket, like a second effort that went in and arched up, bounced, goes in, and Vitale went crazy.
Friendly rims.
Yep.
It's just me. Doesn't Kansas lose a game like that every November? I feel like there's a buzzer beater to beat Kansas in one of these tournaments. But good for Dayton. They did not start the season well, but they beat Miami, they beat KU, and then they beat Belmont to win that Disney Invitational deal.
Man, Dayton 2 years ago was a legit Final Four contender.
Yeah, they were really hurt. Obi Toppin, and you have a once in a generation type NBA prospect that comes through there. They were hurt by COVID, I think, more than anybody else.
Do you know why they're called the Flyers?
Yeah, Orville, not Redenbacher. What was it? Last name Wright brothers. Orville and I don't know, Maurice.
Have you seen Charlotte
Wilbur?
Thank you.
Wilbur Wright, is that right?
yeah,
Okay,
that's
yes. See, I got it. Yep.
Now, do you know what legendary track and field hurdler is a native of Dayton and has a street named for him?
Why do you do this where I answered one question correctly and people are going to be like, oh, cool, like he's smart. And then you answer like a follow-up. Like you have to make me be wrong before you move on to whatever you're moving on
No,
to.
I was giving you the opportunity to be right twice.
No, like that's – you know that I don't know this. Jackie Joyner Kersey.
No. Edwin Moses,
Okay.
which is fun. There's never traffic on Edwin Moses Boulevard because it always splits. Just so you know.
Is that a hurdler joke?
Parts. Yeah, okay.
Because they spread their legs when they're jumping hurdles? Is that what we're going with?
That's it. It's a hurdler.
Okay, so not only did you want to prove me wrong, but you also wanted to insert in a bad joke.
Yeah. That's
All right, gentlemen, let's mark that. We'll get that in post.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, I think Dayton was hurt the most by COVID. Obviously, they had an NBA-type prospect. Let's get to our quick hits. They are not sponsored by anybody, which is shocking.
It's
Lincoln
the wildly
Riley
popular and shockingly unsponsored quick hits.
leaving Oklahoma for USC, a shock to the college football world because of Oklahoma's pedigree, where Oklahoma unquestionably is one of the 5 greatest college football
It is.
programs that there is.
But, Derek, if USC is going to pay, number one, and number two, you're going from the SEC now, and you're coaching in the Pac-12.
that league stinks.
Coaching in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Did we beat Oregon? Yes. Good. Bring on the playoffs.
I mean, the league stinks. There's Oregon, I guess, is the best program. Washington can't figure it out. They just fired their coach.
Arizona State's got an investigation
Arizona is horrible.
coming. UCLA can't figure it out. You got Chip Kelly there.
Washington State's Washington State. Oregon State's in the middle of nowhere. Like, if Oregon State wins 8 games, you're like, oh, my God, throw a parade. Ditto for Washington State. So it's not a good league. Stanford, God, what the hell's happened to Stanford?
Yeah, I know.
That was a pick your score game for Notre Dame. If Notre Dame wanted to score 70, they could have.
Right.
Cal has no excuse to be bad either.
I know. How about this?
Produced a ton of NFL talent.
Cal has produced more Super Bowl starting quarterbacks than any school
And their
in the
jerseys
country.
their color combo is the best. I love it.
It's good.
And the script Cal,
Yeah.
it's awesome. But anyway, I get it. And there's no reason why USC can't be an absolute monster. Just none. And there are a lot of kids that play out on the West Coast that are really talented that don't want to have to move across the country to play college football.
Is USC the one that's dun 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 dun?
Yeah, after every
dun,
down,
dun, dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 yeah.
But that's not their fight song.
And what's their fight song?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
And they
That's
do
pretty
another
cool.
one bites the dust every time there's a quarterback sack.
Really?
I know this because I saw like every USC Notre Dame blowout, and they played that a lot, just
Okay.
constantly.
All right, fair enough.
Other quick hits. 31-year-old DeMarcus Cousins signing a non-guaranteed contract with the Bucs. Milwaukee is his 6th team since 2017.
Can't stay healthy. Good player, can't stay healthy.
Isn't it crazy? Like DeAndre Jordan's like 32, and you're like, he's been in the league for like 100 years.
I know.
And you don't think about it because all these guys were like one and done or out of high school. Week of Black Friday shopping expected to jump 8 to 10% in 2021 once those numbers come in, according to experts. In-person shopping has reduced by 25%.
I went.
Did you go in person?
I did.
I did all online this year.
The thing that I went to one major department store, and the thing that was frustrating is they had like 2 cashiers in the whole place. And I'm like, guys, I'm trying to support the brick and mortar. I am, but you're not making it easy.
What's a department store, like Macy's?
And then I went up the escalators and found like 3 cashiers up there just like sitting around reading a book. And I'm like, can I bring this up here from the men's department to the home furnishings department? Like, yeah, sure, it's the same place.
Like an escalator in the department store?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Been a minute since I've been on one of those.
So I went downstairs and to the people in line and I said,
Mall?
hey, guys, just so you know, upstairs, whatever, we got to stay to our department. Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
You saw me on TV one of those years, Black Friday.
Yeah, you were buying, I remember that, you were at Sears buying a Black & Decker tool belt.
Sears was going under, and we were pillaging the boat. That's what we were doing. We were getting our booty.
I was sitting there. It was the first year we did the show, actually, and I'm watching television. I'm watching the local news, and they're like, Black Friday shopping is underway. It was Thanksgiving night, and I remember thinking to myself, like, what kind of, like, overbearing, cheap moron would be leaving their family on Thanksgiving night to go shopping? This was 3 months after the show had started, and I'm watching – they're doing a live shot from a Sears, and I literally did the what? And there's Derek in the background.
Yep.
You waved. You walked up and waved.
I almost didn't. I didn't want to draw any attention to myself because at that point, I was already a pretty big deal, and so people would see it, and then there's a huge crowd at Sears to see me, and so I wanted to keep Black Friday. I wanted to keep kind of Thanksgiving about Thanksgiving, and that's about.
Did you think it was any coincidence you were in the tool section?
No. Okay. Another one of your funny jokes there. Bite or Bull Bleep time, brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy.
TheShopIndy.com.
Brick and mortar-wise.
One-stop Christmas shopping right here.
Broad Ripple on the Strip, Broad Ripple Village, and Clay Terrace up in Carmel.
The best,
for your unique Indiana gifts.
You can find.
They are very soft. Please don't put your mouth on that. Here's what we do. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bull Bleep. What did I just say? Statement 1. If the Colts miss the playoffs, Frank Reich should be fired. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish you wouldn't breathe on that. Now Jake's going to have to take it home and launder it, and Jake's got enough on his plate lately.
What do you mean?
Worried about cleaning up after you.
No, Frank Reich will not be fired. That's Bull Schultz.
No, it's not will be. Should be.
No, Bull Schultz.
Yeah, I agree. I like Frank Reich.
I think
I'll be Frank Reich defender guy.
I think Frank Reich is a good coach that is a very good person, and people therefore think he's a very good person, when in reality he is just a good coach. But he's good.
His decision-making and play calling is not infallible, and nor am I arguing that it is, but it is good much more than it's bad, and the root of the Colts' problems go a lot deeper than just Reich.
Fair.
Even though they blow a lot of double-digit leads, and the coach has to wear that, unfortunately. That's, results business, and they're 6-6. They have no business being 6-6. They should be better than that, but it is what it is. Patriots are the Super Bowl favorites right now, Bite or Bull Bleep.
To win it or to make it?
No, to win it. I think they're easily the favorites in the AFC to get there, especially with Tennessee
it's wide open. I will say that it is wide open. There is no definitive team. No, I think Green Bay. Green Bay is the
Tampa. Tampa's really good.
Green Bay. Okay, so New England is the best non-Bay team, but Green Bay is the best team.
Yeah, I think I'm still going to lean that way. I was not, and their success is more than just Mac Jones. I was not a Mac Jones believer in the draft. I thought, here's a guy that just played with incredible talent. He's just the guy. He's done a really nice job. Now he's got a great coach, and that's a good roster. But I think you got to give him some credit for that too. Statement 3: USC is a better job than Oklahoma. Bite or Bull Bleep?
100% buy it, because not only is it an elite private institution with a ton of alumni money. Not that Oklahoma doesn't have alumni money, but great tradition, great legacy. 72 degrees and sunny all year round. Dominant area in terms of you're not right there in the vicinity of recruiting against Texas and Texas A&M and Texas Tech and Baylor and Oklahoma State and everything else. And you're in the Pac-12, not the SEC, which Oklahoma's soon to be. Better job, USC.
Better job, yes. Better program? I mean, when I think of the great programs,
in terms of great programs, it's probably a draw.
part of the reason why I've never felt like UCLA, even though they have all the championships, should be on the level of Kansas or Carolina and Duke is because those fan bases, Kentucky, those fans live and die with that team.
Right.
No one lives and dies with USC football. It's LA. You've got a million
that's
things
fair.
going on, right? So when I think of really great, transcendent, oh my God, this affects my whole week, and you're always going to pack the stadium, OU's way up there for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're on the same level. USC is easily one of the 5 to 10 greatest programs. Oklahoma might be a notch or two above, but really we're splitting hairs, I think. But when I think of just strictly college football and I'm making my list, I would probably have Oklahoma in front of USC.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think it's
And they've been relevant in multiple decades.
Yeah,
not
but
that USC,
if I was a
programs
head
have had
football
down.
coach, I would rather coach at USC than Oklahoma.
I think USC is a better job, and I think Lincoln Riley moving proves that. That's what. No one's arguing that Lincoln Riley did the wrong thing, are they?
Right. That's fair.
If they are, I haven't seen outside of Norman, Oklahoma.
Right.
I haven't seen anybody saying that. Thanks to all our great sponsors: American Dairy Association, Indiana, Smoke and Barrel Barbecue, the Shop Indy,
Chateau Kitchens, American Dairy Association of Indiana, Love Heating and Air Conditioning.
WGU Indiana,
WGU.edu/Indiana.
Our friends at Only Indy Tickets. I know they're not on this week because of there's no Colts home game, but they've been an ongoing sponsor with us throughout the fall as well.
So very much appreciated. And Derek, we will do it all again next week, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And you'll have your polls accurate this time and actually prep a little bit.
Maybe it would have been better for you to just not put in your contract that this show continues. Maybe we should have just cut our losses and said, yeah, you know what? We should just not keep this show going because I've been in a worse mood to end the show, but I'm a little
Somebody's at their wits'
like
end.
the whole hurdler trivia thing and then the
You
bad
said you were going to take that out.
Oh yeah, 3, 2, 1. Like the bad jokes and all of that.
Okay.
I just, it's ending on a little bit of a sour note. I feel like today.
Okay.
That's all. I don't know. Thanks for listening
Take
via
a
podcast
swig
as
of
well.
milk. It'll get the sour
I do
out
want to
of it.
mention our podcast because we have a lot of people that were used to this show as an audio show, and we get a lot of downloads for that. So we appreciate your support through that. Spreaker is the main landing page, but you can find it on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, all that stuff, and any podcast platform that there is. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe because then you get alerts when we're live on the air or when we do anything. Like if I go to the grocery, you get an alert. Derek Schultz is at Aldi's.
Okay.
And
Scotty
that's the way that I want it with the new technology. I want it to be as specific as possible.
Nobody cares here at Aldi's.
Everyone cares.
I'm going to Aldi's.
Everyone loves this show. QueryandSchultz.com as well to visit the site and see what else that we've got going on. So Jake's already walked off the set. For Jake Query, who is now gone, I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for watching us here on the ISC Sports Network. We will see you next week. Bye.
Go. It's over.
I'm just glad you're talking to the mic for once. I'm going to actually drink some more of this milk while I'm waiting.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.